Alrighty, folks. So what we're looking at today, unloaded, empty. Okay. What we're looking at today is a Vortex Defender XL with a green 3 MOA dot. If you've been following my videos, you'll notice that I have looked at the Defender XL before and really liked it. So the big question is that why am I looking at it again? Well, two reasons. One is that I wanted to experiment with different color dot sites. So it's not a red dot site, I guess it's a green dot site. Another thing that impressed me with the original Defender I looked at was how good the collimation quality is, meaning how sharp the dot looks to me, despite the fact that I do have astigmatism in my dominant eye. It's not very severe astigmatism, but there is some astigmatism. So when Vortex came out with the green one, I said, oh, I have a little bit of mileage with this. Let's see how this one agrees with my eyes. And let's get a smaller dot. So if you have astigmatism, smaller dots will look more distorted to you than larger dots. It's one of the reasons why generally I prefer larger dots. But 3 MOA is kind of an interesting compromise, and I also want to play with this thing on a carbine, so I thought this would be an interesting exercise. So as far as the green dot Defender XL review goes, consider this to be a part 1, part 2. Will be on a long gun of some sort. All of my original impressions about the Defender XL seem to carry over to this version as well. It's an exceptionally nice reflex sight. It has minimal parallax, if any. I took a camera and moved it behind the dot so you can see where it is edges. I am almost exactly 30 yards away from a metal plate. That's what the gun is aiming at. And you can see when I move the camera left, right, up, down in the window, there is minimal shift in what I'm aiming at. Why is there a shift at all? The way these are set up, usually if I were to set up the plate at 50 yards or somewhere right around there, the parallax would be close to nothing, except within the sweet spot. With most reflex sights, sweet spot is somewhere between 60 and 80% of the center area, and the shorter they are, the more distortion and parallax and mild defocus you might be seeing at the edges. With this red dot sight, if I was just looking at it on paper, I would have expected a good amount of performance deterioration toward the edges because it is a fairly compact optic and it is a fairly large optic. It's one of the larger windows I think that you can get on a small handgun mounted red dot sight. What helps it a little bit is that you see the optic is offset forward a little bit, right? So that means that the window is all the way to the front. It gives them a little bit more length. That helps. But this sweet spot is exceptionally large. I see a tiny little bit of, when I get right to the edge, when I'm on the housing, I see a tiny little bit of coma, maybe. It is, I have to be right at the edge, so close to the edge where I have to wonder, am I be seeing diffractive effects from the edge of the lens? So the imaging performance in terms of collimation quality and dot consistency from center to the edges is just exceptional. I don't think I've seen a reflex sight this small with this size of a window that would be as good. Would I use this optic for carry? For carry, probably not. I prefer smaller, lower profile enclosed dot sights. I know people who use this for carry, works fine. For shits and giggles, I do have a holster for this. I've tried carrying with it. I didn't rub me in any sort of strange ways, etc. My objection to using this sight for carry is the same objection as I have to all open red dot sights, and I do carry with those occasionally, in that all the dry skin, dust, things off of the cloth, etc., they all kind of descend on the inside of the lens, and it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to clean. So for carry, I have largely transitioned to enclosed dot sights, primarily just because it's easier for me to keep them clean. From standpoint of durability and performance, I would be able to carry this just fine. And if I were to interested in doing something fast, I've never shot a pure handgun match, right? So I'm more of a precision rifle guy. This is maybe one of the best ones I've seen. And where it seems to shine, and it shares that with the larger dot model, I was curious it would be different, but performance-wise, I'm not seeing any time different in my splits. Where it really excels is on a follow-up shot, right? So normally what happens is that you present, and from a standpoint of presenting from the holster, there is no real practical difference between this and many of the smaller window dot sights that I've seen. However, with a larger window like this one, I seem to be able to track the dot, not lose sight of the dot through the entire recoil cycle. Okay, and that seems to make a perceivable difference to how quickly I can get a second shot on target, right? So presentation speed is about the same, follow-up speed looks to be faster with the larger windows, vertical larger window optics. Kind of an interesting effect. I do not have a huge number of rounds through this thing yet, but nothing has shifted. I sighted it in and put a couple of hundred rounds through a gun on it. I've got 3 targets out the way, transitioning, shooting from different distances. I've got, one metal plate and 2 paper targets. Seems to work beautifully in terms of intensity. It's a pretty bright day in Albuquerque, and I do not need to put it on top brightness. When I make it really, really bright, my astigmatism does make itself known. There's a little bit of haze around the dot, but somewhat impressively, in terms of the shape, the dot still remains of a reasonably controllable shape. So for this day, how bright it is, let's see, right now this is max brightness, and I can go 1, 2, 3. So 2 steps below maximum brightness is plenty for me up here in the freaking mountains in the middle of the day. Well, it's not middle of the day, but close enough. You see what I mean? The sun is way up there, right? It's not low over the horizon. So as far as overall speed goes, I have to admit that, well, first of all, I have to admit that I'm probably not the best person to determine it. But in my hands, overall, this might be the fastest handgun optic I've used yet, or at least it is the most comfortable for me to follow up quickly and efficiently. There is no effort involved with getting back on target. I just keep my eye on the target. Through the recoil cycle, and I never lose sight of the dot. I never lose sight of the target. Overall, I think it is an exceptional effort by Vortex. As far as durability goes, again, neither with this one nor with the other Defender XL I've tried to look at, I did not try to break it. I think it's silly. I didn't baby it either. They drop, they get banged on stuff. I don't particularly care. Most notably, the people I know at Vortex seem to have zero concerns about me breaking it, and they know better than to challenge me that way. So the housing for the Defender XL has some sort of a plasticky or something shock absorbing insert that seems to make it remarkably more durable than most of the earlier red dot sights as far as dropping it goes. As far as retaining zero, I think most quality red dot sight reflex sight manufacturers figured that out a while back. Most of these work just fine. I don't anticipate any real issues. So that, folks, is the green dot Vortex Defender XL. If you're looking for a large window handgun optic, or perhaps a ultra lightweight carbon optic. As far as the open emitter ones goes, it is hard to do better. Again, it's all manually adjust, so you get the brightness to where you need it. The base height is not super low, but with suppressor height sights I have on here, it co-witnesses very nicely. Overall, in terms of optical performance, in terms of zero retention, And in terms of the size of the sweet spot, I think it is an absolutely exemplary effort by Vortex. If there's anything I missed, you guys have any other questions, you know where to find me, darkweb@optics.com. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening.